the 4x4 Podcast, episode 153. Whether you're going to start a trip to Tierra Del Fuego or simply hitting the forest roads in the Ozarks for the weekend, Artemis Overland Hardware has just what you need. Visit online at artemisoverland.com or visit their awesome showroom in Springfield, Missouri.
You're listening to the 4x4 Podcast, the podcast all about four-wheeling, overlanding, off-road racing, and the outdoor lifestyle. We talk about news, tips and tricks, answer your questions, and interview big and little names in the off-roading world. So whether your rig is busted and you're in the shop wrenching on it, or you're on your way to the trail, join us and we'll keep you plugged in on topics to help you get away. Here are your hosts, Dan, Craig, and Rich.
Good afternoon. How y'all doing?
Doing good.
Doing great. I hear my audio be a little weird because my microphone decided to short out on me right before the show.
Yeah, we'll just blame the COVID-19. Finally got the microphone.
There you go.
Yeah, so we are recording here, distributed as usual, but everybody's still generally in lockdown. So not a lot of off-roading stuff to discuss here, but we do got some really great interviews that I recorded, and I'm looking forward to sharing it. Today we have Jason from Overland Eats on the show, and if you have not checked out Overland Eats on Instagram or on YouTube, highly recommend you do it. That will definitely keep you excited to go out and do some off-roading, build in a cool vehicle, and of course some great camp cooking, because that's one of the favorites here on the 4x4 Podcast. So I guess without any further ado, we will go ahead and get to that interview with Jason from Overland Eats. All right, today on the podcast, I have Jason from Overland Eats. How you doing today?
Hey, doing fine, man. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, thanks for coming on. So I really want to get to know you and learn more about Overland Eats. I stumbled across your Instagram account, which led me to the real gold, which is the YouTube account, or at least from what I can tell.
Look, I never thought that at 35 years old you'd have me playing around on Instagram and YouTube, but here we are, I guess.
Yeah. Well, so can you tell me a little bit about Overland Eats and how you came up with the idea?
Yeah, sure, man. Well, I my day job has always kept me pretty busy, and I do corporate finance for big real estate firms, and I moved out to Colorado about 2 years ago, and I was always a sports car guy. I had a 911, and enjoyed the heck out of that thing, but quickly realized that you can only go on about 2/3 of the roads in Colorado without four-wheel drive. And then, in the wintertime, you pretty much need to have four-wheel drive. So I got rid of that car and bought just a used, I think it had 8,000 miles on it, 2017 Toyota Tacoma TRD off-road. And I don't know what it was that made me see the first aftermarket thing. I mean, I think it had like a 2-inch old man emu lift on it and some tires. But other than that, it was pretty stock. And I don't know. I haven't added up all the receipts, but I'm probably a good 40 grand in on top of the price of the truck at this point.
Oh man, that's how it starts. It's always something small that leads to so much more.
Yeah, so I ended up just doing some aftermarket stuff, and I created an Instagram account really just to document the build of the truck, just to kind of, keep up with what I've done to it and cool places I've been and stuff. And, it never really got any engagement at all. In fact, it wasn't called Overland Eats. It was called Overland Exploits.
Okay.
And it was just, it was just a way for me to document the build on the truck. And, I only created that in June of this past year. So, I'm coming up on a year here that I've even had the social media stuff going on. But a couple months into having the account, we went out fishing up by Turquoise Lake, and instead of posting a truck picture, I posted a picture of a fish that we caught, and we were cooking it up in the little skillet, and that picture got 10 times the engagement as any other photo that I ever posted. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess people do like food porn, right?
Yeah.
So I'm originally from New Orleans, and my mom always was a big cook, and everybody in our family is big into cooking, and Louisiana has definitely, got some good eats. So yeah, we've always, tried to eat well when we're out camping. When we're out there, we're not throwing down for a hotel or anything else. So, we don't mind going a little overboard on the food.
Sure.
But yeah, I guess fast forward to today, and yeah, now it's like I definitely wouldn't call myself an influencer or anything like that. I mean, I'm doing this on the weekends when I got a couple minutes free, but it certainly has been fun to see that folks appreciate it, and I've just met so many cool people. I mean, I was pretty proficient with social media or whatever, but I mean, never really used it for this kind of purpose. But yeah, now, I mean, one of the most fun things I'll do is I'll go find some place that I want to go camp out in the mountains here, and I'll just post the coordinates on social media, and I'll say, hey, look, I got dinner for the first 20 people to show up, and you wouldn't believe the amount of people that are showing up to get a bite to eat out there.
Well, I can't blame them. After scrolling through the Instagram feed here, there are some tremendous looking dishes showing up in your feed.
Yeah, some is it's all in the editing,
Right. No, I'm sure it tastes pretty good too. If Instagram came with a smell, I'd be dying right now.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy the camping and hanging out with friends aspect more than I enjoy the off-roading aspect. I've damaged the truck enough times where now I'm a little more conservative when I'm out there wheeling. So
yeah,
I've got a couple of good battle scars on it at this point, but
they're just beauty marks.
Yeah, now I've been really lucky to work with some cool brands, and they've helped with some of the truck build, and it's been pretty cool to actually get to work with some brands both in the off-road aftermarket community and the food community. And now I guess you could say I'm sort of subsidizing the hobby through all this stuff. So yeah, it's been kind of an interesting iteration of from just playing around on social media to actually now there's if I don't post a picture in a couple of days, I'm getting DMs of people complaining that I'm not posting a picture. It's kind of
that's a good problem to have.
Weird.
Yeah,
kind of weird.
Well, so let's first, before we start talking about all the cooking stuff, let's talk a little bit more about that Toyota Tacoma that you've got there, because it is a pretty sweet build, not going to lie. What all have you done to it? Beyond is the Old Man Emu lift still on it, or have you gone with something else?
No, I took that off. So let's see. It's got the aftermarket TRD Pro grill. It's got Windjet taillights. And it's got a matte military metallic green wrap on it. That's about it as far as visual upgrades. The armor is all CBI fabrication, so I've got the T3 front bumper, T3 high clearance rear bumper, CBI sliders, full underbody skids. I did aluminum front bumper and aluminum skids because originally I was not planning on re-gearing the truck, but as this addiction,
as you add weight.
As the addiction continues, now I've got a set of nitro gears that are coming in for it. The suspension is all King shocks. I've got a Icon heavy-duty leaf pack in the back, SPC upper control arms in the front, Warren winch, Factor 55 Fairlead, bunch of lighting from Baja. The tent is an iCamper, and super cool. We do a lot of winter camping up here too in the mountains, and I previously had a tent that took a good 5-6 minutes to get set up all the way. And man, this iCamper, you could do it in below freezing in the snow, and it's a 30-second setup and a 30-second pack up. So
yeah,
from sleeping bag to being in your truck with the heater on, the time is shortened a good bit.
Yeah. And it's hard to complain between a 5-minute tent setup to even less, but it's good to have that refinement.
The other tent was also great. I mean, that's probably the thing that got me, to be able to stay out much more often and for longer periods was obviously a rooftop tent.
Yeah.
And it just totally changed what the truck could be used for, from just off-roading and getting to cool spots to then you've got your little mobile house built right on the back. So,
Yep.
I've got mine wired up with LED lighting, and it's already got a little memory foam mattress in there.
Yeah.
But other modifications. It's got VTX wheels, 285, 75, 17 Nitto ridge grapplers, Prinzu roof rack, RCI Metalworks bed rack. I think that's all the big stuff. I'm sure there's more, but that's the gist of it.
The matte wrap that you have on there is really eye-catching. And at first glance, like in some of the pictures, it doesn't pop out as much just because of the cool backgrounds that also capture the attention. But for sure, it stands out. It looks really cool. Yeah,
definitely. It's one of my favorite things that I've done to the truck. It's from a company called Vivid Vinyl. And it's a matte wrap, but it has like some kind of like ghost flake in it to where, if you're in direct sunlight, it's kind of shiny. But then if it's overcast or evening time, it's definitely like a deep green matte finish. But yeah, believe it or not, a buddy of mine and I did it in his shop in a couple of days. And, I wouldn't say either of us are super pros at it, but, we'll probably have to redo it this summer, and we may end up changing the color of it. But yeah, that definitely was an experience in learning how to work with vinyl.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's one of the things I have not tried to undertake myself. I'm afraid my Jeep has way too many marks for a vinyl to even work on it. It's been banged in too many trees and everything.
I hear that a lot, and looking back, I wish I had put a vinyl on it the moment that I bought the truck, because if you pull the vinyl off, obviously it's got pinstripes all over it from running on trails. So if I would have done that day one, I'd have a brand new paint job underneath that.
Yeah, I wish I had done that with my wife's truck. Instead, we've got, Mojave pinstripes and all kinds of stuff from Alaska, cruising around there. Oh, well, lesson learned. Next time. Next time there's a new paint job on a vehicle, I'll jump for that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm waiting for, they pushed back the release date of the new Bronco. I was all set to pre-order the new Bronco. I wanted to have it like the day it came out. And now with the whole Corona deal, I think that's kind of, unfortunately, it's pushed back indefinitely. But I will say that the day I get that truck, the first thing that I do before any tires or wheels or lift or anything is going to be a wrap.
Yeah. Go straight to the wrap and save that paint job.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Now let's talk about the food, because that's really kind of what I wanted to talk about the most. I just held off to be nice here. But so corporate accounting, I don't understand how that fits so well with the food, but it must be the Louisiana flavor in there. But it's hard to believe that you would not be a professional cook, because this looks fantastic.
Well, yeah. So I do. So yeah, for the day job, I'm on a plane 4 days a week I do mergers and acquisitions for the world's largest real estate franchising company, and it keeps me pretty busy and wearing a suit and tie, and in the boardroom a good bit. So when I get home, I'm looking to turn the cell phone off and get out off the grid, away from everything. And I mean, the food thing is really just part of it. I mean, we're out there. I'm almost always with a group of friends or finding a group of friends out there, and food is just one of those things where it's I mean, you got to do it 3 times a day. You may as well enjoy it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know anybody that doesn't like to eat. So I think it's definitely helped me to make some fast friends in the overlanding and social media community here in Colorado. You'll never have somebody turn down a meal, that's for sure.
Well, especially when it looks this good. So, and I noticed one of the things that is in all of the food pictures, it seems like, is some cast iron cookware.
Yeah. I mean, look, when you're camping, right, there's just some stuff that you don't have access to, right? You're not going to have exact temperatures of an oven. You're 99% of the time cooking over a fire, or, honestly, actually here in Colorado, in the summertime, we end up with a lot of the fire bans. So we'll end up having to switch to propane to cook stuff midsummer, just because, for safety purposes.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, 90% of the time we're either, using a cast iron skillet or a Dutch oven or cooking something directly over the flame. I mean, every once in a while we'll get creative and, make a pizza oven out of stones, or, hang something from a piece of wire over the fire to slow roast it. But,
wait.
Yeah, I mean, I like
stone pizza oven. You got to tell me about this.
Yeah. Every once in a while, if we're by a river that's got a bunch of stones that'll work for us, we'll actually use a cast iron griddle, put it in there as the base, and then build an actual oven around it, and then cook up a pizza in there. So,
I guess I've never done that. I've done pizzas in the Dutch oven before, but I haven't done them just.
Dutch oven pizza is definitely a good deal to make too. And look, most of the stuff that I'm cooking up is like just a couple of ingredients, right? Like any of you guys can cook up any of that stuff. I'm not doing anything special, or I'm definitely not a trained chef or anything like that. A lot of the recipes that I'm trying out, I'm like getting off of Gordon Ramsay off of YouTube.
There you go.
Certainly, if you're cooking out in the woods or car camping or camping out of your truck, you may have to adapt a couple of things or adjust the recipe a little bit. But I think, look, we eat, my friend Keita Roberts, she runs a great Instagram account called Girl Carnivore. And, she always talks about how we eat with our eyes first. And so, we try to make the food look good and bring a little extra parsley to sprinkle on there or whatever. But yeah, certainly, there's nothing better than sitting around the campfire and enjoying good company. And, cooking is one of those things where if you're just hanging out by the fire, you've got time to do it right. So
exactly.
We don't often, we most of the time we're not bringing board games or bocce ball or anything like that to the campsite with us. We're, sitting around the campfire and sharing stories and waiting for the food to be ready.
Yeah. Well, so what are some of your favorite camp kitchen items? Because I see you've got some pretty sweet knives in there as well.
Well, I mean, like you mentioned, you've got to have a cast iron skillet. That's like number one thing, because you can put that directly over coals. You could do it over a grill. Most stuff you can cook in a cast iron skillet. Definitely, you don't want anything in there that's going to melt, right? Because your temperatures. I think that's the thing too. Is right, like when you're cooking over a fire, the temperatures are so variable. That you may have a temperature that's a little too hot for a bit. You got to move your skillet over to the other side. You got to be able to adjust it. Definitely a good knife and a good cutting board. I always bring a ton of water just so I can wash things while I'm out there, after using them.
Especially important with cast iron, since
you're
not cleaning it the same way as regular. A lot of people use Teflon stuff in their house, but I know we've switched out.
Don't use soap on your cast iron skillet.
Yeah,
just let all that good greasiness accumulate. But other things. I mean, you gotta have firewood. A lot of times that just a piece of meat and some butter and salt and pepper will be, all you need up there. I mean, it's hard. It's relatively hard to mess up a good steak. So that's, you see in a lot of my pictures, I'm just throwing a steak on the coals. That's definitely an easy go-to thing for anybody who's out there camping.
Yeah. What about your cutlery? I noticed you've got some Overland Eats branded knives.
Yeah, a bunch of people have been asking me to hey, what's like a product? Look, the reality is this social media thing. I mean, I don't know if there really is a way to monetize it, or if it's really worth the effort to. It's probably not, honestly, worth the effort to try to monetize it. But yeah, I've got a buddy here in Colorado who's a custom knife maker. He does just beautiful work, and he made me kind of a prototype for an Overland Eats, kind of like a bushcraft style knife. And I'm trying to get the price down so I can, do a run of 100 of them or something, and let some of the folks who are following the adventures buy one. But yeah, I've almost always got a good couple of knives with me, some tongs just to reach into the fire if I'm depending on what I'm cooking, and then an axe or a hatchet to break up firewood.
Sure. That's the nice thing. You don't have to get overly complex with any of it.
You really don't. And again, most of the stuff that I'm cooking out there, you can do it all in one pot or in one skillet. I mean, sometimes I'll get a little involved where you're making a little bit more of an elaborate dish. But I mean, even people think making donuts out in the woods is hard, but look, this is an easy recipe for all you guys. You get vegetable oil in a cast iron skillet, heat it up. You get Grand's biscuits, poke a hole in the middle, fry them on both sides, and then sprinkle cinnamon and brown sugar on them, and you got camp donuts.
Yeah, there's so much that you can do. It just takes a little bit of creativity. Yeah,
well, and you have to have, you got to make sure you've got the right things packed as well. I mean, the back of my truck, unfortunately, is always overloaded with, I see all these other guys with their, they've got like tons of extra recovery gear and just so much like other camp equipment, and they could stay out there for 2 weeks. Look, I've got maybe like 3 days in the mountains before I've got to resupply because I'm out of, Grey Poupon,
Awesome. Well, okay, so let's talk about the YouTube channel. I was watching I think it was your second video just the other day, and man, it's so two things. One, food still looks amazing. Two, just the production quality of the videos is phenomenal. It's hard to believe that that's not your day job because it looks so good.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not it's not my day job, and I don't think I'm ever going to be one of those fellows who's like running around with a selfie cam on, like giving like daily updates or doing a daily vlog or anything like that. And so, people, some friends and stuff have been asking me like to get something like that going, and I was like, well, look, the only way we're going to invest any time in that is if the production value is super high, and we do it like a TV show.
Yeah.
And so I met some awesome folks on via Instagram called the Wilderness Collective. It's a husband and wife film crew videography team. They've also got a super sweet built up 4Runner built for overlanding. And so we've kind of been teaming up for the first. In fact, we're in about 2 weeks we're releasing our second episode of the show. But our thought process really is, look, let's just do super high production value. Bring on like, quote unquote celebrity guests onto the show, and, then let's pitch it to a network. Let's pitch it to Netflix or something. And that, that's kind of the idea behind that is we're going to do 8 or 10 episodes and see how it shakes out. And, we've been lucky enough to get some sponsors for that to cover the cost of flying, some cool folks in. And, we get out to really awesome locations. And now, again, I don't know how long we're going to be stuck in our houses here with the quarantine stuff, but as soon as this is over, we got some great folks who have actually been on Discovery Channel and some other shows that we've got, we've asked to come on as guests. So hopefully we can bring you guys some way more awesome locations and some cool folks who have really, it's kind of fun because we can get them to some out of the way places, and then they're kind of out of their elements as well. But they may be a Michelin star chef, but now we're asking them to cook over a campfire. So it's it's definitely a cool dynamic that we've got going on there. But yeah, unfortunately, it takes us a good while to produce an episode. So
yeah, no, I get that.
We'll probably have a new one every 2 or 3 months, but don't expect a lot of new content on the weekly from the YouTube channel for sure.
Yeah. Well, if somebody wants to follow along with all your adventures and maybe get some of the recipes, where should they go to keep up with Overland Eats?
Yeah, I mean, you could just look up Overland Eats on Instagram. It's just at Overland Eats, or same thing on YouTube. Yeah, if anybody's ever got questions about recipes or stuff on the truck, or look, if they're in Colorado or in, we've got plans for Moab this year. I've got plans. I think it's official that Overland Expo West has been postponed. I'm not sure. I think it's maybe moved to July at the very earliest. Yeah, that's what I think
I read yesterday.
Yeah, but the truck will be at the Camp Chef booth at Overland Expo West. So, if you want to come say hey and check out the rig, you can come find me there. But yeah, hit me up anytime. I'm always looking for new pals to camp with and new recipe ideas. And yeah, would super appreciate anybody that kind of wants to follow along with the adventures.
Sounds good. All right, Jason, looking forward to whenever we do get to cross paths. We will swap recipes and have a good dinner around the campfire, I'm sure.
Look, come on up anytime. We'll do some cooking together.
All right, Jason. We'll talk to you later.
Okay, man. Thanks.
We live in a strange time. Especially strange right now, where so many of us want to shop online for equipment designed to get us outside. I totally get it. Shopping from the comfort of the couch at any time is very appealing, but so much of the equipment that we use for overland travel is really expensive, and it'd be nice to see it up close and explore it a bit before spending some hard-earned cash. Artemis Overland Hardware is located in Springfield, Missouri, and you can visit them in person. You can see all the equipment there, pick it up, and head straight out for an adventure right from the shop, or you can have them install it there even. Artemis Overland Hardware only stocks the best equipment. Everything you pick up is going to stand up to the harsh environments that you're going to be subjecting them to. At ArtemisOverland.com, you'll find a wide selection of rooftop tents and ground tents from companies like Oztent, 230, and Eezi Awn. Outfit your camp kitchen with a SnoMaster Fridge, a Tembo Tusk Skottle, or a stove from Kovea or Frontrunner. Artemis Overland has a large selection of camp furniture, as well as roof racks from a wide range of vehicles. Recovery gear, winches, lights, solar power, dual battery systems, action tracks, GPS units, and much, much more can all be found at ArtemisOverland.com or at the brick and mortar store, once you're allowed to actually go visit. And I think they do still have some folks dropping by. Anyways, Artemis Overland Hardware is also one of the very few Goose Gear installers and Ironman 4x4 dealers located in the central United States. So whether you're going to start a trip to Tierra del Fuego or simply hitting the forest roads in the Ozarks for the weekend, Artemis Overland Hardware has just what you need. Visit online at ArtemisOverland.com. That's ARTEMIS Overland.com. Or see their awesome showroom in Springfield, Missouri. Okay, gents, so there's got to be something new off-roading related going with you. So, Craig, I know we had mentioned or alluded to your visit to the Four-Wheeler Adventure Expo before all the coronavirus lockdown happened. Can you tell me a little bit more about how the expo went?
Oh, the expo was excellent. It was what you would expect if you understand the off-road world or the exploration of the world of the off-roading. It was a very small show. You remember the Sand Sport show me and you met at? It was at the same place, Costa Mesa. It was nowhere near as big, I'll tell you that much, but it was more interesting. The vehicles were more interesting. The people were fun to talk to. They were very accommodating. They were like, oh, you're taking pictures of the vehicle. They'd let you just, walk into their vehicle. Unlike some of the other shows where you just sit there and admire the vehicle, they're pulling you in, showing you this, showing you that, what they modified, what they didn't. They had some 4 tents set up, pretty much back to back, where they had people discussing all different types of the adventure world, from the motocross, people using the motorcycles, to the big, the big trucks.
Yeah.
It was kind of fun seeing all this kind of stuff. I mean, there was some things for sale. There were some interesting stuff for sale that you could buy, but some of the stuff, it was so small purchase-wise, but it was more interesting actually walking around, seeing the vehicles, and seeing everybody's different interpretations of what they think a Explorer vehicle should look like. And what was very interesting is while I was there, I was searching through, and I was just walking through, and the one big thing I was actually surprised about, and we had talked to one of our listeners. He asked us, well, I have a Subaru. Well, there were Subarus.
Oh yeah,
there.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, and there were actually some good-looking Subarus there, which, everybody has their different things, and I liked it. I will go again if they have it there. I wish I could have took more time. What some of my pictures aren't as up to what I feel is my snuff of taking pictures. You'll notice that in these pictures that I took, there are a lot more people in them because they're not just looking and moving on. They're standing there discussing the vehicle for a half hour. And the show started an hour earlier than normal. Like the other two shows that I normally go down for, they started an hour earlier than that. So when I got there, I expected to be, and no, I'm like, okay, I'm an hour later. So now there's an hour's worth of more people in there. So it was like, oh, damn it. So it was a lot harder. And there's a lot of shots I finally just gave up on because I mean, I wanted to take, but then there was ones that are just like, okay, I really want this shot. The people are just going to have to be in it. It's just one of those.
Yeah.
And I prefer to try, to get the whole vehicle without anybody in there. Plus, I don't want anybody to be upset that I took their picture. So it's what I
Sure.
can do. But it has pushed me to look at, okay, you can also you don't just have to be an overlander and you don't just have to be a rock crawler. You can be both. I mean, you are.
Yeah, that's true. Well, did you get any ideas for anything to do on your vehicle? I mean, besides get it running? Not only my vehiwell, just getting rid of the vehicle and starting over, that's definitely an option.
The scary part when you go to one of these shows. You go, hell, I'm just going to get rid of my Jeep and do that. It's easy enough to say.
Yeah.
It's not as easy enough to do. But, like me, unfortunately, I think we discussed it last time that, my vehicle was totaled out. Surprisingly enough, my insurance company, after they've actually figured it all out that it wasn't my fault. And it wasn't another insured party within their company.
Oh, geez.
They've been a lot more accommodating. So they actually came and picked up my car on Monday. They paid me out a lot more than I thought. I got like $7,500.
Well, that's definitely a lot better than last time we talked.
Yeah, I thought it was only going to get, Blue Book, which is, Blue Book trade-in, which is $3,000, but they gave me $7,500 for my car. So I'm like, okay. I couldn't figure out where the difference was. Then I finally figured it out that there's two different standards. There's one for Blue Book trade-in, and then there's one for Blue Book sales. And they go, when a car's totaled, they go by Blue Book sales.
Okay.
So that's how I ended up with the $7,500.
So, so here's something to make it interesting.
Well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You've got a YJ,
so that's all
right?
money you can put into your Jeep.
That's all money I need to put into a commuter car. Remember, that was my commuter car. I need to be able to get back and forth to work.
That's what the Jeep's for.
The Jeep's a rock crawler. And that's why I'm questioning myself after going to the off-road show, the Explorer show.
On the back of it?
Oh, it's got license plates on it.
All right, then, data driver, go ahead.
It just doesn't have a transmission or a top.
Tops are overrated. The transmission, I think that's pretty necessary.
Yeah.
Well, so, I was, looking around. I always try to pay attention to what's in the Facebook marketplace around here. And I have seen somebody was selling a YJ, not as built as yours. It did have some modifications, but they're only asking $2,500. And I'm pretty sure its transmission worked.
I'm pretty sure there's got to be something else wrong with it if they're only selling it for $2,500.
Well, so that's the unique thing about the community that I live in. Some people have to sell things quickly to accommodate moves. So, and that, as a matter of fact, that one's probably gone. I'd have to check I saved it, showed it to my wife, and it's probably gone. But sometimes it's a good deal. So, anyway, something to think about. Glad to see that the insurance company's working with you.
Yeah. Once they found out that they're not going to have to shell out the money, they're going to be able to get it from the other insurance companies. They were like, okay, hey, no problem. we're good with you now. We're not gonna argue.
When they know they're not giving up their own money, they're a little more accommodating.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's how it seemed. They instantly went. It was like a switch, even though my lawyer is still involved. And I think that kind of also is one of the determining factors on them opening their eyes and going, well, okay, well, wait a minute. He's proven to us that there's a bunch of stuff that he's saying is the truth, and he's got video to back everything.
Yeah.
I will never, ever drive another car without a dash cam in it.
Yeah, that's smart.
No. I mean, I even got one for the rental I have right now. I mean, I'm selling out, they're in a little piece of junk one. I took the one that was in my car that I was using. I put it in my semi truck for work. And I think the other day I was driving. I'm like, man, you know what? I wish this had more memory. I got to figure out when the memory goes out so I can pull the memory card out, download it into or switch memory cards, because I could start my own YouTube channel, asshole drivers, with
all the shenanigans you see on California drivers.
Shenanigans I see during the day.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and I probably make people will just get a kick out of the stuff you see out of the back of out of the front of a semi. People do stupid things and don't realize this is 80,000 pounds. It does not stop. You want it to. Your car stops in 300 feet. No, mine stops in 600 feet, and
Sure. Well, speaking of new vehicles, Rich.
Yeah, I heard.
What all you got?
Yeah, it's been like our driveway looks completely different right now.
Yeah.
So we talked about the last episode. My son saved up and he bought a 95 Ranger. And I sold the Subaru and used that money and bought a 2003 TJ that is, I don't know, super nice. It's going to be my wife's daily driver, actually. So
wait, so she's going from a Subaru to a TJ for a daily driver?
No, the Subaru was my daughter's car.
Okay.
Yeah, my wife was driving a 2017 RAV4. So that goes to my daughter to college.
Okay.
When it's something reliable for her to drive, when she comes back and visit us and whatnot. So yeah, the TJ went to my wife. So yeah, super clean. It's got like about a 4-inch lift. It's on 33s. It's got that crappy dent at 35, but oh well. I'll just start. But she's not, it's not a rock crawler. It's a sharp looking Jeep. It's super, super, super clean. So.
Well, that's pretty awesome.
Wait a minute. I thought we just saw somebody post a picture of a black Subaru.
I was just saying I detailed the hell out of that Subaru and then sold it. I clean the hell out of my cars before I sell them. They look like I do when I get rid of them. So.
It helps you get a little more money out of it. Makes sense.
Considerable more amount of money for it.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Hopefully sometime we can give your son a bunch of bad ideas to do stuff with his Ranger, and I'm sure your wife is immune to the bad ideas for her Jeep at this point.
Yeah.
Well, see, here's the nice part.
She woke up this morning. First thing out of her mouth was, "I had a bad dream." I was like, "Oh yeah." She goes, "Yeah, I had a dream that I bought a Hummer instead of a Jeep."
Oh, that's funny. I tell you, an H1 could be a good time, but anything else?
No, the Nightmare was it was an H2, right?
Yeah.
Any kind of Hummer is a nightmare. Well, not any kind of Hummer, but Hummers are a nightmare.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, it's good. It's always fun to have some new vehicles kind of around the house and around the driveway to tinker with and do stuff.
That's the worst part for me right now, because now I'm looking at stuff and now you got all the dealerships going and all the, zero financing for 84 months. It's like, oh, wait, maybe I can afford something a little bit more expensive. Oh, wait.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of good deals to be had out there, especially right now, but I don't know. I'm glad I don't have to think about that.
Yeah, people are selling vehicles like crazy right now. There are a ton of good deals out there.
Yep.
Yeah, but see, that's the issue. I mean, what do I do? I mean, I know I need a vehicle, but with everything, the times that are going on right now, it's a little scary to go ahead and buy a new vehicle and you don't know what's going to happen. Or buy another vehicle, period. I really don't want to be in this situation that I'm in right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got your motorcycle too, right? I don't know if you want to like go from a wrecked car to a motorcycle. That may not make a lot of sense, but... I get that. And one of the guys at work said, hey, why did you rent a car? The weather's been decent. You could ride your motorcycle. And I said, yeah, the only problem is my neck and my upper shoulders are still injured. And riding a motorcycle with the injury, I sat on my bike and tried it out. Okay, am I going to be in pain getting to home and work? And I'm going to be in a slight bit of pain. So I'm like, okay, this isn't worth it. The pain level that I'm going to have to endure to get to work and home is not worth it. I'll just lease a car. Yeah.
Or just rent a car.
Well, I've been watching too many episodes of Roadkill. Like, all the ideas are buy a hoopty, hop it up, and just drive the crap out of it. Also, bad ideas.
Beat the snot out of it, and who cares? You only spend it. Exactly. And then and here's the thing that is really interesting is all the show notes you gave us are all eating stuff. You're killing me. I'm starving right now.
Yeah. Well, so before we get into the gear review here, we'll talk about my thing, and then we'll go back to talking about food. So, like everybody else, my work schedule has slowed down significantly, which has allowed me to get after some of the projects that, have needed to be done for a long time. After doing all the 1-ton steering and replacing control arm links or the end links, going from Heim joints to the metal cloak Duraflex joints, I kept trying to track down. There's like one little thing that was causing me to have a tiny bit of death wobble, just it was very rare. But I tracked it down to, it was the track bar bushing on the axle side. So that was easy. It was like $20 or something for a new bushing from Skyjacker. But, it took me 2 hours to get that dumb thing in there just because it was such a tight fit. So I'm sure I could have done something between lifting the vehicle and everything, get all kind of lined up a little bit easier, but eventually got it in there. Nice tight ride now. Love it. Which has allowed me to go explore some of the training areas since, BLM is closed. A lot of the, everything's locked down. But the training area that is in my backyard looks very similar to Johnson Valley, and it's open for me to go off-roading. The only limitation is that, speed limit's 35. So as long as I deal with that, it's all good. But one of the things that I've needed for a long time is the motor mounts. Like we talked about on the 4-liter Jeep engines, the exhaust manifold just cooks that motor mount. So I ordered up a set of Brown Dog motor mounts, which is, if you ask somebody what motor mounts should they get, 9 times out of 10, somebody's going to recommend Brown Dog. So ordered those up, and I've got the Jeep in the garage. I had to let a bunch of air out of the tires to fit it into the garage, but it's in there. Borrowed an engine hoist from a buddy, and so I'll be putting in those Brown Dog motor mounts as soon as we're done here. But I do still need to replace the leaf spring shackles. I've been running those TerraFlex revolver shackles for, the entire time I've had the Jeep. And the way the TerraFlex revolver shackles work, it's like a 2-piece shackle that, when it's in rest position, it kind of forms a V from the top of the shackle hanger to the leaf spring. And so when it adds a significant amount of axle articulation out of those leaf springs. But when it's down in the resting position, it sits on like a plastic or, super dense rubber block. And that block completely cracked and broke, and the bolts that hold it in sheared, and they're gone. So the shackle has compressed a little bit, and it's not riding the way it's supposed to. It's super noisy. But a lot of people complain about the TerraFlex revolver shackles creating an unstable ride, which is kind of true. I've just become accustomed to it. So I think it's time to transition back to a more traditional style leaf spring shackle. So I'm going to order some up. But if anybody has recommendations on what they would recommend, their favorite like boomerang style leaf spring shackle, I'm open to it before I, go ahead and drop the money. I've been going back and forth between the Rubicon Express ones and the Iron Rock Off-Road. Both very similar design, use a natural rubber bushing, so it should have good ride quality characteristics, but still gives me a better suspension motion that allows the leaf springs to move correctly. And it clears that rear cross member a little bit. So open to some suggestion there. But let's see. I guess it's time to talk about our gear review. I haven't really done any major modifications to the Jeep. It's all just been maintenance stuff for myself. But I did order, it's a wireless meat thermometer, which not necessarily off-roading related, but it's more in the overland category. We talk about, cooking off-road a lot. And one of the things that, a lot of people don't really pay attention to is the food temperature, which, if you don't pay attention to that, then you could start looking for things in the toilet category of overlanding. So I prefer to have a good idea what the meat temperature is going to be, especially with a Dutch oven. Like the temptation to lift the lid on the Dutch oven and see the food inside and check how done it is, that's tough. That's real tough. I have a hard time keeping the lid on there. But with this wireless meat thermometer, you can put the probe into the meat, doesn't matter what kind, and then it plugs into another unit that's got the temperature on there. And then there's another unit that actually is the wireless part, and it says it has a 500-foot range, which that's pretty significant. It allows you to walk around camp and have that in your pocket. And you can select the type of meat that you're cooking and how done you want it, which kind of sets the temperature. When it gets up to temperature, that remote unit will start beeping so you know your food is done. Super, super helpful. Also, you can connect 4 temperature probes. So if, one person wants their steak well done, the other person wants it medium, another person wants it, medium rare, like you can have all those different probes in, and everybody gets their steak cooked the way that they want. Or if you're cooking some, pork ribs and a steak, like it's awesome. The thing is just awesome. And for the price, like it's hard to beat. I can't remember what the price is now, but I remember thinking it was around $30, maybe a little over $30. And it is the Eenzoo, ENZOO wireless meat thermometer. I'll have a link to the show notes here. The 4x4podcast.com/153.
Looks like on Amazon, right now it's $42.
Oh, it's gone up. Oh man.
Well, still not a bad deal.
Yeah, and it comes in a case, so you can keep it all well organized. When I was cooking some ribs in the smoker, I had it all. I've got like a cabinet style smoker, so I had one probe just monitoring the temperature of the air in the smoker, and then a probe in each of the rack of ribs on the 3 different shelves in there. So I could kind of monitor and move them around if I needed to, and I could tell if the smoker was changing temperature a bunch, and man, this thing is just awesome. So this is definitely, it's in the kitchen now, but it's definitely something that whenever we go camping is going to move from the kitchen to the chuck box. Comes in a nice little case, so it stays organized, and and safe. It's not getting crushed by anything as we're going camping. But I like it. Well, you guys got anything else? We haven't got any feedback on the show for a while, so if you like the content here, or if you want to give us a hard time for a real crappy release schedule, go ahead and send some feedback. You can do it in iTunes. You can send it to us on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. We will take the feedback in however it comes. But for sure in iTunes, like that is the one place. The more reviews and ratings we get, the more likely iTunes is to share or show the show to other people. So I think that's it, unless we're missing something, guys.
No, I did. It was very interesting. You talk about your cooker. I can't forget what they're called. I always want to try it. Not the Skottle, but
the Dutch oven. The
Dutch ovens. The other day I was searching through Amazon and I came across a Dutch oven table. So it sets up and you can put the charcoals on it, and then so you don't have to put the charcoals on the ground. You actually set it up and it's up on the ground. So I was just like, I was wondering if Dan knew about this.
Yeah, I've seen those. In my mind, that's just one more thing to carry, and I'm not so old that I can't bend over. So when I'm out here in the desert, I use my Skottle just basically every day when I'm at work. But there are special occasions when I've got a larger group together. We're doing a team function, and I'll put something in the Dutch oven, but I'll usually dig a hole to help protect everything from the high winds that we always see here, so the coals stay hot and they don't blow out so fast. But that is definitely not a table. But, yeah.
Well, this one, it actually has a backing to it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah. So one of the things I learned from Jerry over at Tembo Tusk, he kind of pointed out, the thermal dynamics or how the wind flows. So they have a windbreak kit that you can order in addition to the Skottle, and he sent one over to me, and it's essentially the same thing. It's like a 3-sided barrier that goes around the burner unit, and he said the tendency is for people to use that wind barrier to block the wind from coming in, but what it does is it creates a vacuum around the burner and sucks the flame out. So instead, you're supposed to face that 3-sided barrier towards the wind, so that you're getting nice air flow into there, keeps the flame going.
And up.
And it helps. And so, you still, if at all possible, you want to avoid being in the wind. But even
Heavy
here
wind.
In the high winds on the Mojave Desert, I have not had the flame blow out on my Skottle. So it's a pretty awesome unit. So I think that's about it for this show, episode 153. We will have, like I said, links. Go to the 4x4podcast.com/153. We'll take you to these show notes. And if you just want to share the podcast episode itself, it's the same thing, the 4x4podcast.com/153 MP3. And that just takes you to the podcast file itself. Also, we are proud members of the 4x4 Radio Network. Head over to 4x4radio.com and you'll find a playlist there with all the shows on the 4x4 Radio Network. You can listen to the Center Steer podcast and learn about Land Rovers. We've got the Jeep Talk Show and On the Trail podcast, both talking Jeep stuff. And we've got the Trail Chasers podcast as well, which, used to be Toyota Tacoma stuff, but, now Cody bought a new Ford Ranger. I don't know if you guys have been checking that one out, but it's pretty cool to see that. They're mostly, Southern California content, because all three of those guys live in the same general area down here. But that is it for this episode. Thanks again to Artemis Overland Hardware for helping the show continue. Be sure to check them out and let them know that you appreciate them for supporting the show. And for sure, as the stimulus checks were running out, or being sent out, I want to remind everybody to buy American local businesses whenever possible and support them, and Artemis Overland Hardware definitely fits into that category. If you'd like to send us some feedback, you can do that at the 4x4 podcast at yahoo.com, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at the 4x4 podcast, And of course, voicemail 719-924-5337. Now it's time to hit the trails, sort of. So tread lightly, God bless, and stay safe while exploring your world.